Everything you've been told about gender theory comes from one man, a psychologist named John Money. And his most famous experiment, it ended in suicide. Quick history lesson. The term gender was recently redefined. In 1955, psychologist John Money distinguished gender from sex. Gender meant social norms based on biological sex. Girls played with Barbies, boys played with G.I. Joes. These were gender roles. But the roles were based on sex. Sex came first. Gender was just the cultural expression. A man is an adult biological male. A woman is an adult biological female. John Money is also famous for something a little bit darker. David Reimer, a boy whose penis was destroyed in a botched circumcision at age 8 months old, Money convinced the parents to raise him as a girl, claiming it would work because gender, it's just a social construct. And Money published papers claiming success. But David later rejected his female identity, transitioned back to male, but ultimately died by suicide. And despite this catastrophic failure, Money's theories are now the foundation of today's gender ideology. The ironic lesson, Money's experiment may actually prove the opposite of what he had intended. David was born male, raised female from infancy, never told about the transition, believed he was supposed to be a girl. And yet he knew something was wrong. He felt like he was in the wrong body, because he was in the wrong body. Despite being raised female, despite never knowing he was born male, something inside him knew. When he learned the truth as a teenager, he immediately transitioned back to male. Money's theory that gender is purely social was proven catastrophically wrong. And the critical question is now, does this mean people can't genuinely feel they were born in the wrong body? No. What it demonstrates is that there is some internal sense of self that matters. Some people have persistent dysphoria that doesn't resolve. That's real. But here's the problem. If we accept that David Reimer's internal sense of being male was valid, even when everything external told him he was female, then we must also accept that understanding why someone feels dysphoria is absolutely critical. Was David's dysphoric because of trauma from the surgery? Social factors? Some innate sense of maleness that couldn't be socialized away? We need to know the answers before we intervene medically. And yet, Colorado has made it illegal to explore those questions if the exploration might lead to someone being comfortable in their birth sex.
At this stage in the litigation, and let me give you this example. Suppose an adolescent male comes to a licensed therapist and says he's attracted to other males but feels uneasy and guilty about those feelings, and he wants to end or lessen them and asks for the therapist's help in doing so. Under your interpretation of the statute, is that banned?
So, Your Honor, our interpretation of the statute turns entirely on whether the purpose of the therapy is to change the person's sexual orientation or gender identity. If that
what is the answer to my question? Is that banned or is it not banned?
If the therapist told him or he asked, can you help me become straight, the answer would be it would be banned. If it was, can you help me cope with my feelings as to how I am and how I want to live my life, that's permitted. And all of that comes
why doesn't the situation that I've just described fall squarely within the terms of the statute, which says that conversion therapy includes, quote, efforts to eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attraction or feelings toward individuals of the same sex?
If those things are undertaken with the purpose of changing orientation or identity, then they violate the statute.
That's not what your statute says.
This is the way we've interpreted the statute from the beginning of this case. It's the way both of the lower courts interpreted the statute. It's the way every state that has this statute interprets it.